video we will discuss nature of bonding and properties. Properties of compounds depends upon the nature of bonding present in them. In this video we will discuss the effect of nature of bonding on the properties of compounds. First of all, we will discuss ionic compounds. Ionic compounds are made up of positively and negatively charged ions. They consist of ions, not molecules. These positively and negatively charged ions are held together in a solid or a crystal with the help of strong electrostatic forces of attraction. The arrangement of sodium ion and chloride ion in a solid crystal is shown in this figure. Grey ball represent sodium ion while green balls represent chloride ions. Sodium chloride form colorless cubic crystal. Each sodium ion is surrounded by 6 chloride ions. Similarly, each chloride ion is also surrounded by 6 sodium ions. In this figure, we will see this is the sodium ion. This sodium ion is surrounded by 6 chloride ions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each sodium ion is surrounded by 6 chloride ions. Similarly, this is chloride ion and this chloride ion is surrounded by 6 sodium ions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It means each sodium ion is surrounded by 6 chloride ions. Likewise, each chloride ion is also surrounded by 6 sodium ions. In a crystal, each ion is attracted strongly to each of its neighbors. The large attractive forces results in a very stable structure. So ionic compounds, they have very high values of melting and boiling points. For example, melting point of sodium chloride is 801 degrees Celsius. This is the crystal of cesium chloride. In cesium chloride crystal, each cesium ion is surrounded by 8 chloride ions. Similarly, each chloride ion is also surrounded by 8 cesium ions. Red ball represents the cesium ion. It is surrounded by 8 chloride ions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in this way, each cesium ion is surrounded by 8 chloride ions. Likewise, each chloride ion is also surrounded by 8 cesium ions. I hope this is clear. Now we will discuss some of the important properties of ionic compounds. The first important property of ionic compound is ionic compounds are mostly crystalline solids. They are mostly crystalline solids. Mostly they are crystalline solids. This is one important property. The next important property of ionic compound is usually ionic compounds, they have high values of melting and boiling points. High values of melting and boiling points, high melting points as well as boiling points. For example, sodium chloride has melting point 801 degrees centigrade. The melting point of sodium chloride is, its melting point is 801 degrees Celsius. Similarly, boiling point of sodium chloride is 1413 degrees centigrade. Its boiling point is 1413 degrees Celsius. Ionic compounds are made up of positively and negatively charged ions, and these ions, they are held together with the help of strong electrostatic forces of attraction between oppositely charged ions. So large amount of energy is required to break these electrostatic forces of attraction. That's why ionic compounds, they have very high values of melting and boiling points. Next important properties of ionic compounds. Usually ionic compounds, they dissolve easily in polar solvents like water. So we will discuss their next important property, that is solubility. Solubility of ionic compounds. Usually ionic compounds are soluble. They are soluble in polar solvents. Ionic or Polar solutes, usually they are soluble in polar solvents. For example, water. So, majority of ionic compounds, they are soluble in water. Now, ionic compounds in solid states are non-conductor. Now, we will discuss the next important property of ionic compound is the conductance. Their next important property is conductance. We know. Now we will discuss the next property of ionic compounds, that is conductance. Ionic compounds are non-conductor in solid state. In solid state, ionic compounds, they are non-conductor. Because ions are present in tightly bounded state. Free mobile ions are not available for the passage of electric current. That's why ionic compounds are non-conductor in solid state. While if we melt them or if we make their aqueous solution, then they becomes conductor. So we can say they are good conductors in solution form or in the molten form. In fused state or in molten state, in fused state or in the form of solution, they are conductor. They are good conductors. Melted ionic compounds conduct electricity. We will understand this concept with the help of an example, that is conduction of electricity through molten sodium chloride. We have taken molten sodium chloride in this electrolytic cell. In molten sodium chloride, sodium ions and chloride ions are free to move throughout the molten salt. These are the sodium ions and these are chloride ions. When voltage is applied with the help of battery, sodium ions move towards the negative electrode, that is cathode, while chloride ions, they move towards the positive electrode, that is anode. This movement of ion inside a cell is responsible for flow of electricity between the electrodes in the external wire. Aqueous solution of ionic compounds also conduct electricity. This is because when an ionic compound dissolves in water, the ions are free to move about in the aqueous solution. So what is the conclusion? In the solid state, ionic compounds are non-conductor because free mobile ions are not available for the passage of electric current. But ionic compounds becomes good electrolyte if we melt them or if we take their aqueous solution. I hope properties of ionic compounds are clear to you.